Hello friend, my name is Sunil Kumar. In this video, we will learn how to use the multi-threading or how to process the record asynchronously in the splitter. So, first of all, we will create the splitter project and the name is splitter thread flow. So, keeping resting as default, let's create this project. By default, splitter split the big message into the small based on the criteria which we have explained, and then process them one at a time. So it will process one record at a time, then it will process the another record, and once the processing is complete, and finally the aggregator will combine all this and then give the response back. So now we will learn how we can achieve the how we can process the records of this splitter uh, into multi-threaded environments. So first of all, we will use a HTTP connector to receive the request. Let's configure a default, keeping resting as default. Let's save it. Then we will use the another component because the string which we are going to pass is this one. So it's a JSON. So we will use JSON transformer, JSON to so we will use object to JSON transform. JSON to object transform we will use so that we can convert it JSON to object transform, and we'll make the return type as java.util.map so that my splitter can split it. So we will use the expression as splitter. Okay, and this splitter we will use based on message dot payload dot. So we will use message dot payload dot location dot record. So it will split based on this record. Okay. So finally I can put in the aggregator, collection aggregator. So whatever the response it will split, it will return it. And finally, I can use it will return as JSON. So I can use JSON to object. So it will return an object. We will use the object to JSON. So all the requests it will process after splitting it. It will be in the synchronized mode. So one thread at a time. So what we will do is that we will use a request reply over here. We will use a request reply over here, and inside the request reply, what we will use the one VM which is working as a outbound. So let's configure this VM as outbound. So let's configure it. So it will be a one way. Let's configure it is as request. Configure this as default. So Matt's sending messages store. Keeping everything as default. We will use the VM. So we will use the another VM over here, which is to receive the request which is processed. So we will use as reply and make the another configuration keeping as default, testing as default. We will make it as a VM1. So we will create a new flow over here. Let's put this new VM. So how it will behave? So whatever the request we are sending over here, that will be outbound and will be inbound for this VM. So we will use the same as request, we'll use the same VM, and also we will use have a another VM which is in the process area. Once this request will processed, this VM will have the VM1. It will send the request which will be processed by this VM, and then finally the collection aggregator will work it. So in between, what we can do, we can use the logger over here. So let's put this logger in this area. We can use anything. We can use expression over here. It will transform it. Or but now, if this request reply will wait for till this process happen, but what is happening? This flow will get executed in the synchronized mode. So to process it into multi-threaded, I will use async mode, where in the async mode I can say I will put my logger, I will put my expression, I will put my. So now all these component will happen in asynchronous mode, will happen in the parallel execution in different thread, and the request will reach over this. So quickly, what I will do is that I will configure it as I will say is the expression. What is will do is that whatever the payload it will receive, it will convert or make that message dot payload dot. So it will get log dot to uppercase. It will use to uppercase. So this is just the expression. So it finally VM, and quickly go through the configuration. What I will do is that this splitter, what it does, this splitter will be there into the inside my VM outbound component, so that it can be worked, and my collection attribute will be inside this one. So it will collect all these attributes, and this response, all these logger expression VM bound will be in the async block. So this process will still execute in the multi-threading environment, but still this request reply will wait for all that. So in this way, we will achieve the multi-threading in this splitter. So let's try to run this application and see its behavior, how it will behave. So let the application get deployed. So we already have the postman configured where I have the three records, and let's see how these records will get processed. And I will show from the logs that these are get processed in a different thread mode that we can check from the logs. So we will see initially a worker thread is there in for the splitter, and then for the async mode we can see multiple threads will get created for this flow to execute these three components that we can check into the logs also. So let's wait for the application to get deployed. Once the application get deployed, I send the request. So I can see. So let's see how this process is get created. So I can see this request is get uppercased, and now this logger which is printed over here, I can see this is a flow 1 thread 3. This is print by the thread 3. This is print by thread 4. So multi-threaded environment, they are being executed using the multi-threaded, and finally I am able to achieve the parallel processing into my splitter. So this is way how can I achieve and improve the performance. Thanks for watching. Thank you.